abused in many ways, and I have learned to live with the pain. Every day is a rainy day. Is it because I'm a girl?
With an example, so I've been a university student for the past 5 years. So being in such a space, it's basically you're confronted with rape culture every day. You go to a party and you wear something short and it's automatically, oh, if something happens to you, then you know why this happened to you. Or little remarks like, oh, she deserved it, or what was she wearing, or how much did she have to drink. So those things to me, when I hear questions like that, or that kind of rhetoric, that's what comes to mind when I hear rape culture. So immediately when someone says to me rape culture, these little snide remarks and these comments just come back to me. So if there's anybody who would also like to shed some light on what they think.
It's okay, Nico. Just on basically the dressing part as well. Basically in school campuses and stuff like that, if you are dressed maybe like a short skirt or something, guys always find it okay to like catcall and stuff like that. I feel like that could be an example of that.
Like you say, pretty much just normalizing rape. And like I remember just like a couple of weeks ago, I think about a month ago, with the Young Feminist Network, we've gone into like schools where we're pretty much just raising awareness on like sexual harassment and stuff like that. And then we'd asked about rape and pretty much just sexual harassment. And the kids were pretty much like, oh, but if she's wearing like something short, then yeah, then she was pretty much just asking for it. And it was pretty much just heartbreaking because these are like young boys, like adolescents, and then those are their perspectives on things like that. And like I remember I'm always, like issues of, I think, rape culture, like most of us are just always trying to raise awareness. And you have guys, like I just remember a couple of days ago, this guy was pretty much like, oh, but then if she was drinking, she's like asking for it. So they're like this disgusting, like I think it's pretty much just disgusting. It's like, you try to, it's sadness, it's anger, but then it's also disgust that these are perspectives that are pretty much normalized, and it's not just us adults, but then also the adolescents are growing up in a culture to believe that rape is justified.
You shouldn't have to like walk out in a short skirt knowing that, okay, let me just be brave because definitely it's gonna happen. I feel like we shouldn't have to accept that happens.
Yeah, and I feel like people also need to understand what consent is, because if you're wearing something short, it doesn't warrant consent. If you're drinking, it doesn't warrant consent. If you want to jog out at night, you're not asking for it. So I think also just consent, people don't get what consent is. Just because I have a bare back and like I'm showing my arms doesn't mean like I want you to stick it there.
Yes.
Yeah, I think for me, rape culture is pretty much what she says. To put it in summary, rape culture is just taking consent and thinking it's rubbish. Like, provided you don't consider consent a thing, for me, that's just rape culture.
For me, maybe as an extension of that, it's almost a false sense of entitlement that men have. To almost think that not only are they throwing away consent, but the fact that you're dressed like that and you're drinking, it's like an entitlement.
Yeah.
They think nothing else matters. And it's a bit sad because you see it play out. And those remarks saying, oh, she deserved it, it's really that entitlement.
Yeah.
And just forgetting that people do these things for themselves. You don't dress up for somebody. You're dressing up the way you are to feel good about yourself. It could be a combination of what you're wearing and the shoes you're wearing and the bag you're carrying. But people think, that's it. You walk through the door, that's it. She's carrying a placard that says, I am the one. It's not that. So there's a certain sense of entitlement there that we need to destigmatize.
Definitely.
Okay.
I was late, so I don't know if anyone has mentioned this. I think it's also in how we were raised, how there's this certain culture when it comes to little children where if it's a little girl, some family friend or some person who you as a parent know comes up to say, oh, that's my wife, or it's certain words like that's my girlfriend, and that's a little child. And that child is growing up with that, understanding that this older man is calling me his wife. And you know how in Malawi we're raised to believe that, you know, a little girl has to aspire to being a wife. So she grows up thinking, I am that person's wife. So when that person comes to assault that child do not recognize that as assault, because this person has been, you know, pretty much claiming her as his wife from a very young age. And it happens with little boys as well, where older women, nannies, family friends even come up to say, oh yeah, that's my husband, save him from me, and stuff like that. And little kids grow up with that, knowing that and thinking that, you know what, I must aspire to be this person's whatever, and then they get assaulted, but they cannot tell you, because to them that is what has been normalized. And as a parent, you've also accepted that and just let it go, and it just leads up to assault, and it leads up to a general acceptance of, you know, that's what is supposed to happen, because nobody ever told me that that was wrong.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to just quickly add on. I don't know if I Sorry. Yeah, she talks, so that's fine, I guess. But then, like, what Jessie, when she's talking about, when you're talking about, like, how we were raised, and I think, like, one of the coaches as well is also, like, on dress code. Because, like, you know, like, growing up, for me, I'm going to personalize this, as a girl, there'll be moments where, in the comfort of my own home, I wear short skirts and whatever. But if my uncle is coming through, or if somebody's coming through, I have to cover up, I have to wear pants, I have to wear something longer. I don't mess around with dress code, because it literally does perpetuate rape culture. Because what you're trying to say is that men have an irresistible urge, you know, when they see bare legs or bare whatever. So we're trying to protect that urge to just always want to pounce on women, and, you know, like, trying to make women always wear, like, longer things and, like, less funny honey. But pretty much dress code perpetuates rape culture.
Underestimate the potential in me. I'm a believer in the power.